Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another tip video. If you're new here, my name is Charlotte. Go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit that bell to receive notifications. I'm posting new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so stay tuned for those. Today's video is going to be what I wish I knew before college. So this video, I'm just going to preface by saying it is not just for nursing students in any means. These tips can go for any college students. However, because I am a nursing student, I am going to include a couple tips at the end that are specifically for students in nursing school. So if you're not in nursing school, feel free to end the video after those or continue watching and maybe they will be helpful for you too. So now that I am a rising junior at the University of Pennsylvania, I have acquired some tips for you guys to utilize things that I wish that I had started doing earlier that would have helped make my college experience a little bit better from the get-go. So hopefully these tips will help you, and whether you're a high school student or you're a freshman or sophomore in college or even an upperclassman, I hope that they can still be applied to whatever you're studying. My first tip is to start focusing on how you're going to manage your time really early on in college. Now, it's a lot different because high school, you still have to manage your time, but it's a little more structured. You know, you're living with your family, you will do things at a certain time with them, and your extracurriculars usually will be more like structured for you. But then when you get to college, there are friends that you want to hang out with, and you want to try to balance your school and your fun, and it's just really important to start managing your time early on so that you don't get to college and start trying to do all those things and fall behind on your schoolwork and then not do as well as you hoped in your first semester. So what I recommend for time management is to keep a planner. I talk about how I use my planner in a video that I'll link up here, and I recommend you go check that out. But I think this is really important just for keeping track of what kinds of things you want to get done during your week and how you want to spend your time, because you want to make sure you are having a balance. Schoolwork should come as one of your main priorities when you're managing time, but also making sure you integrate clubs or hanging out with your friends or going to parties. Anything like that is really important. It's also good to set weekly goals for yourself. So say you want to set aside 20 hours of studying and homework, putting that in your planner or your calendar on your phone so that it's blocked in on your schedule. If you're planning something with friends, you can look and see, oh, I have designated 4 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday to start the math homework, and then you can maybe try to meet up with them a different time, but just so that you're still being able to do both, but you're keeping that time in so your grades don't fall. My second tip is to not compare yourself to others. This can be really hard in college because you're in a pre-professional setting, you're focusing more on your career goals, and you're studying with people who are really working hard on their schoolwork and you're in more rigorous classes. So just making sure you focus on yourself and doing the best that you can rather than comparing the amount of work you put into a class or your particular goals with other people around you. I finally found confidence in what I chose to do and what I chose to focus my time on, and that helped me so much. So I think making sure you take a step back and make goals for your own self about how you want to structure your life, what you want to focus on, and how hard you're going to work on your classwork. That can be really important. And just making sure you don't lose sight of who you are in the sea of other people at college, because there are so many more students. Everybody is in that pre-professional setting, and there's so much competition that can ensue. So making sure you're not letting yourself get swept up in that competition, you're not trying to be someone else that you aren't. My third tip is to get to know your professors. In high school, it is super easy to get to know your teachers because you're with them on a more regular basis, every day or every other day, and you're also maybe seeing them after school for things. But in college, it can be really hard because you may only see them that 1 or 2 times a week for a lecture. And you might be hearing from them in emails, but there's not that face-to-face interaction, especially if you're in a larger lecture class. Because in your first couple of years of college, usually there are the bigger classes that you have to get out of the way. So you might have lectures of 200 to 300 people. And it can be hard to therefore have that one-on-one interaction with your professor. But just like in high school, these relationships you form with your professors are super important, especially if you're confused about things. They make it easier for you to talk to them and ask questions. And later on down the road, if you need a recommendation for anything like a scholarship or graduate school, it's helpful to form these relationships with those professors early on. So one way that you can do this is by going up to them after the first or second class and just introducing yourself. It's just a really good way for them to see your face, hear your name right off the bat. And then if you later on wanted to go to, say, their office hours, or if you emailed them, they'll be able to tell who you are, especially if it's a huge class and they're not going to know everyone's name. So just having that initial face-to-face interaction is good. Also, as I mentioned, going to office hours is really helpful. If you have questions, that's a really good time to ask them one-on-one if you're afraid to ask in class, because in those bigger classes, it can be hard to ask questions. So maybe meeting up with them one-on-one. The office hours are usually in the syllabus, but if they don't have posted ones, you can always email them. Usually, professors are super open to answering your questions. And if your course has a TA or a teaching assistant, it's also helpful to introduce yourself to them, as they are going to be the ones answering questions and helping you get through the class. That's their job. That's what they're there for. So don't be afraid to ask questions. My fourth tip is grades aren't everything. This is something that I wish I knew going in, because in high school, you're working towards something. You're trying to get into college, you're trying to accomplish certain things, and that is true partially for college. You are trying to get good grades and you're trying to work toward a career or furthering your education, whatever comes next for you. But I think also you don't want to burn yourself out by only focusing on grades and doing nothing else. Because I am a firm believer that doing extracurriculars and doing things outside of school while you're in college can really make your experience more positive. If you're not doing those things and you're not getting involved elsewhere, it's just schoolwork 24/7, and that's not healthy. So making sure you also take the time to form relationships with people, doing things that interest you, whatever it may be. For me, I try to get involved in other things like the band, and I'm in a student nurse organization, and just doing things that you love with people that make you happy outside of school. It can be really beneficial for your mental health. When you finish college, you're gonna look back on it and you don't want to just remember that you did school all the time and you weren't happy. You want to remember having that time that you worked on school, but also the time where you were making memories with your friends and in the things that you're involved in. Grades are important, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go to college and don't try hard, but make sure, going back to that point on time management, make sure you're budgeting your time and you're fitting in space for not only your schoolwork, but also doing things that make you happy, hanging out with friends, whatever it may be. My fifth tip is to keep an open mind throughout college. I think this is really important because coming from a high school that may have been smaller and there may not have been tons of opportunities, you may feel overwhelmed by the amount of opportunities that college can bring, especially if you're at a larger state school or just a larger institution. There's so many ways that you can get involved, and there are so many things that you could do and how you can spend your college time. First of all, don't be overwhelmed by these, but second of all, keep an open mind, because you may go into college thinking, I really want to do this, this, and this, and I want to go to college and I want to pursue a minor in chemistry and I want to be involved in a choir. But then when you get to college, it's important, if these opportunities don't necessarily work out for you or they're not what you expected them to be, it's important to be flexible and maybe try something new that you wouldn't have originally thought that you'd be doing in college. This is really important because it will allow you to explore other things that you may not have in previous years and go outside the boundaries a little bit, and maybe you'll find a newfound interest in a club or an activity or something like that. So keep an open mind. Also, this goes for jobs or positions. You may apply to some that you're really interested in and not get them. So it is important to be open-minded about it. Try to apply to jobs that maybe you didn't think of right away, but that could still be really great opportunities for you. If you're a nursing student in particular, I think it's really important to keep an open mind about what kind of specialty in nursing you want to go into, because you can go into nursing school thinking, I want to be a pediatric nurse, but then once you take your courses, you might find out that this isn't actually the case, and it's important to be ready to change that and explore some new things. So stay open-minded in whatever you do in college, any of your endeavors. Really important. A tip that I have for nursing students is to ask a lot of questions, because you want to go into college and learn as much as you can before you're going into the world of healthcare or whatever your career may be. It's really important to ask whatever questions you have. There are people who can give you an answer. Also, if you're in clinicals or you're at lab, it's important to ask your instructor as many questions as you can, because they're there to teach you and make sure you get all the knowledge and experience you need going forward when you enter the world of healthcare and you're no longer in an educational setting. So ask away, ask them to show you things, ask them to demonstrate again, make sure you're not confused on things, reach out to them. Don't be afraid to maybe ask for one-on-one time to clarify something or see if they could re-demonstrate, but just ask questions. It will help you down the line. So my last tip for nursing students is to get comfortable talking to people. Nursing is a very people-oriented position. You really have to be ready to talk to people. You have to have conversations with your patients. You're going to talk to tons of people at clinical. So making sure that you're comfortable with this, going in and having confidence in your communication skills. You can practice, you can have conversations with people that you know and are close to, and then from there, talk to people that you maybe wouldn't have talked to normally, but just sparking a conversation with someone and learning to be comfortable around people and be comfortable talking to people. This will make nursing school and the beginning of your clinicals a lot easier, and you'll find that you won't be as afraid to talk to patients, you won't be as afraid to talk to their families, and the interactions you have with other nurses and other members of the healthcare team will be a lot better. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you can find these tips helpful. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below anything that you wish you knew before starting college. Go follow me on all my social media. Those are linked in the description down below. And I hope you guys have a great weekend.